Germany, expecting cobblestone streets, fairy tale castles, and cities straight out of a travel brochure. And for the most part, they're right. But here's what the travel blogs don't tell you. Crime in Germany doesn't spread evenly. It concentrates in specific cities, around specific train stations and street corners where locals have learned, through experience, to simply not linger. Today, we're going through 10 German cities flagged in the most recent 2024-2025 police statistics. Cities where locals themselves will pull you aside and say, "Watch yourself here." Let's get into it. Number 10. Magdeburg and Halle, Saal. We start in Germany's east, and we start with something most travel guides completely skip over. Magdeburg, the capital of Saxony-Anhalt, sits along the Elbe River with a crime rate hovering around 13,500 offenses per 100,000 inhabitants. That puts it firmly in the upper tier of German cities by crime frequency. But the numbers only tell part of the story. In certain pockets of eastern Germany, and Magdeburg and its neighbor Halle are frequently cited, there's a more uncomfortable tension. Locals, particularly those from visible minority backgrounds, have reported unease in specific neighborhoods after dark. Far-right sentiment, while rarely erupting into outright violence against tourists, creates an atmosphere that feels different from Western German cities. It's not something tourists expect when they book a trip to safe Germany, but it's something locals know, and something the statistics quietly reflect. The practical reality? Most visitors pass through Magdeburg without incident. But if you stand out, if you're traveling solo, and if you find yourself in the wrong part of the city after nightfall, locals say you'll feel it. Number 9. Bremerhaven. Most people have never heard of Bremerhaven. That's exactly why it makes this list. Sitting on Germany's North Sea coast, this port city of about 113,000 people records roughly 13,700 offenses per 100,000 inhabitants, one of the highest crime densities in the entire country. And yet, because it draws fewer tourists than Berlin or Munich, it rarely gets the scrutiny it deserves. Port cities share a common DNA worldwide: transient populations, shifting drug markets, high unemployment. Bremerhaven checks every one of those boxes. Property crime and drug-related offenses dominate the statistics here. Travelers who stumble into the wrong area, particularly around the older harbor districts after dark, report a palpable shift in atmosphere. It's the kind of place where local knowledge matters enormously, and most tourists simply don't have it. If you're visiting, the German Emigration Center and the harbor area during daylight are genuinely worth the trip. But as evening falls, Bremerhaven asks for your full attention. Number 8. Dortmund. Here's where things start to get interesting. Dortmund is a proud city, a working-class city, home to one of the most passionate football fan bases on the planet, Borussia Dortmund, the Black and Yellows. On match days, the city pulses. But that same passionate identity has a shadow side. Federal crime reports consistently flag Dortmund's main train station as one of the higher incident transport hubs in Germany. Football rivalries, when tensions boil over, can turn neighborhoods near the stadium into flashpoints. And the Ruhr Valley's industrial decline over decades has left social fractures that statistics quietly document every year. Day to day, Dortmund is a functional, livable city. But locals will tell you, arriving by train late at night, navigating the station district alone, or getting caught near the wrong crowd on a match day, those are situations that demand more than casual tourist awareness. The city wears its roughness honestly. Just make sure you're prepared for it. Number 7. Dusseldorf. Now here's a name that genuinely surprises people. Dusseldorf. Fashion capital, financial hub, Rhine riverside promenades, Michelin-starred restaurants. This is supposed to be one of Germany's most affluent cities. And yet, 2024 crime tallies place Dusseldorf at over 12,600 offences per 100,000 inhabitants. The affluence and the crime exist simultaneously, and that's something seasoned travellers understand about wealthy European cities. Wealth attracts opportunists. Tourist-dense, well-heeled areas become magnets for pickpockets and scam operations who know exactly what they're looking at when an unprepared visitor walks by. The station area and certain nightlife zones show the most elevated numbers. Locals acknowledge that Dusseldorf is safer than many of its peers in raw, violent crime, but they'll also tell you that petty crime is alive and well, and that the polished surface of the city can lull visitors into a false sense of security. Don't let the luxury fool you. Number 6. Hamburg. Hamburg is magnetic. Few cities in Europe feel quite as alive. The harbour lights, the Elbphilharmonie concert hall rising from the waterfront, the St. Pauli nightlife district that never seems to sleep. But St. Pauli is also where we need to pause. The Reeperbahn, Hamburg's infamous mile-long nightlife and red light strip, is one of the most heavily policed entertainment zones in Germany, and it needs to be. Scams targeting tourists are well documented. Theft in crowded bars and clubs is routine, and the sheer density of intoxicated visitors creates an environment where opportunists operate almost casually. Hamburg's crime index sits around 42 on Numbeo's traveller perception scale. Drug issues tied to port activity surface in police reports year after year. None of this makes Hamburg a city to avoid, far from it. But locals are clear. If you're going out in St. Pauli, you go with awareness. You watch your drinks. You watch your wallet. You know where you're going before you go there. The city rewards the prepared traveller. It has very little patience for the careless one. Number 5. Cologne. You've seen the photos. Cologne Cathedral, one of the most breathtaking Gothic structures on Earth, rising above the Rhine. It's the kind of image that fills flight booking pages and travel Instagram feeds. What those images don't show is what happens at the base of those cathedral steps. Cologne records over 12,700 offences per 100,000 inhabitants, and the area immediately surrounding the main train station and cathedral is among the most pickpocket-dense tourist zones in Germany. Professional theft operations, often working in coordinated groups, specifically target the crowds that form there around the clock. Carnival season amplifies everything. Hundreds of thousands of visitors flood the city, and with them comes a surge in reported theft and disturbances that locals have come to treat as an annual certainty. The violence rates in Cologne remain relatively low. This isn't a place where tourists regularly feel physically threatened. But financial crime, pickpocketing, distraction theft, scams, is deeply embedded in the tourist ecosystem around the cathedral and station. Locals visiting from other parts of Germany treat those streets the way experienced city travelers treat any major tourist site in Europe. They keep their hands on their bags, they keep their eyes moving, and they never stop to help strangers with something that seems just a little too convenient. Number 4. Hannover. Hannover sits at a comfortable number 4. And that's precisely because there's nothing comfortable about how it got here. A crime index hovering between 45 and 46 on traveller perception scales makes Hannover one of the more notable mid-sized German cities for reported unease. The train station and surrounding nightlife zones generate the most consistent warnings from locals and expat forums alike. What makes Hannover particularly worth noting is that it rarely appears in mainstream travel safety conversations. It doesn't have Frankfurt's notorious drug district or Berlin's international profile. It's just a city where theft and disturbances are quietly elevated, and where tourists arrive with no preparation because nobody warned them. That information gap is exactly what makes it dangerous for the unprepared. Locals advise standard urban vigilance, evenings near the station, populated but controlled routes. The same common sense you'd apply in any major European city. The difference is that in Hannover, you need to apply it before you arrive, not after your first uncomfortable encounter. Number 3. Berlin. Did you expect Berlin to rank higher? A lot of people do. The German capital carries a reputation, earned in some ways, for edginess, for nightlife that operates outside conventional hours, for neighborhoods that feel like they exist outside the normal rules of German civic life. But here's the reality behind the numbers. Berlin logs around 14,252 offenses per 100,000 inhabitants. For a city of nearly 4 million people, that's a significant raw volume of reported crime. Pickpocketing and bike theft alone account for a staggering number of incidents annually. The spots locals specifically flag? Görlitzer Park in Kreuzberg is an open drug market that operates with remarkable brazenness after dark. Parts of Neukölln, particularly along Sonnenallee, have seen elevated crime and tension in recent years. Leopoldplatz in Wedding, the fringes of Cottbusser Tor, Alexanderplatz late at night, where the crowds thin out and the security cameras can only do so much. And yet, and this is critical, Berlin by day, even in its grittier neighborhoods, is one of the most vibrant and genuinely exciting cities in Europe. Kreuzberg and Friedrichshain are thriving cultural epicenters. The tourist infrastructure is excellent. Visible policing is present in most high-density areas. The Berlin that demands caution is the Berlin of 2 a.m. decisions, the late-night park shortcut, the isolated stretch between clubs. The moment a tourist decides that their normal instincts don't apply because they're in a cool European city. That's the Berlin where things go wrong, and locals will tell you exactly that. Number 2. Bremen. Bremen surprises nearly everyone who sees the data. Fairy tale old town, UNESCO-listed town hall, the Bremen Town Musicians, one of the most beloved symbols of German folklore. Bremen is supposed to be charming, and then you look at the numbers. Bremen consistently ranks at or near the top of German crime frequency statistics, with some recent tallies reaching as high as 15,424 offenses per 100,000 inhabitants, making it, per capita, one of the highest crime cities in the entire country. Drug-related crime and property offenses drive the majority of those figures. The harbour areas and certain central districts after dark carry warnings that locals repeat almost reflexively to incoming visitors. "It's grittier than it looks," is how many of them put it. The gap between Bremen's tourist image and its statistical reality is striking. Travelers arrive expecting the fairy tale, and sometimes encounter something considerably less curated. The old town itself is genuinely beautiful, and reasonably safe during daylight and early evening. But Bremen after dark, in the wrong areas, operates by a different set of rules, and the charm of the postcard doesn't follow you there. Number 1. Frankfurt am Main. And at number 1, nobody who knows Germany is surprised. Frankfurt. Germany's financial capital, home to the European Central Bank, one of the busiest airports in the world, skyscrapers that wouldn't look out of place in Manhattan, rising above a medieval old town, and a crime rate per capita that consistently tops German city rankings, somewhere between 14,600 and 14,871 offenses per 100,000 inhabitants. The reason Frankfurt sits at number 1 isn't just the numbers. It's the specific, documented, impossible-to-ignore reality of one district, the Bahnhofsviertel. The area surrounding Frankfurt's main train station, Taunusstraße, Kaiserstraße, and their surrounding blocks, is home to one of the most open and concentrated drug and prostitution scenes in Western Europe. This isn't a hidden problem. German authorities have debated, studied, and managed it for decades. Needle exchanges operate in public view. Drug deals happen on street corners with minimal concealment. Violence, when it occurs, is concentrated in this specific zone. Locals don't avoid Frankfurt. They avoid lingering in the Bahnhofsviertel, especially after dark. They pass through the station, they get where they're going, and they don't stop to take photos or engage with strangers in that particular stretch of the city. The financial district? Safe. The Old Town? Lively and welcoming. The Sachsenhausen district across the river? Excellent food and atmosphere. Frankfurt rewards visitors who do their homework. It penalizes those who don't. Here's the bottom line.
Germany is not dangerous. Not by any standard that deserves to be taken seriously. A homicide rate of 0.9 per 100,000 puts it among the safest countries on Earth. But every city on this list has a shadow side. A district, a time of night, a specific set of circumstances where the statistics stop being abstract and start being personal. The travelers who get hurt here almost never get hurt randomly. They get hurt because they walked into a situation with their guard down, in a place locals already knew to avoid. The difference between a great trip and a cautionary story is almost always information. And now you have it. Germany is worth the trip. Just go with your eyes open. If this video gave you something the travel blogs didn't, hit like and subscribe for more content that tells you what's actually out there. No fluff, no sugarcoating. And drop a comment below. Have you been to any of these cities? I read every single one. Stay sharp. See you in the next one.